My name's Tawheed. I'm 24. I'm a full-time student and my part-time job is a calligrapher. One of the things I love about my job is that I get to make amazing pieces that help me describe myself and help me express myself. When I was growing up, me and my friends, we would always go on these long drives. And on these long drives, we would usually go to these stores that had really big billboards and signs. And regardless of where we were, my eyes would always be drawn to those signs. And it was really interesting to see how the different font and colors described what the word actually was trying to say. Looking at that, growing up my whole entire life, I always wanted to see how art could basically complement what people were trying to say. I started looking into different types of calligraphy, cursive writing. I looked into the different types of pens, the paper that you would have to use, and I realized it costed a lot. Me being a person that wasn't able to afford all of those things, I went to the dollar store and started picking up permanent markers and pens with those chisel tips. I ended up trying to figure out how you would write calligraphy. I went to the library, I looked online, and there were many resources when I was trying to learn English calligraphy, but when I switched over to Arabic, there weren't that many there. One thing that helped me was when I used to read Quran, I used to just sit there and just look at the letters and just see how would the pen actually have to move to get those curves, to get those shapes. When I looked at calligraphy, I looked at the purity of the art form. It's just lines. It didn't really involve anything crazy like having a bunch of paints. You just needed a piece of paper and a pen. And with that, you can make amazing art. The reason why I started doing it more was because no one else was doing it. It's what made me stand out. It was part of my identity. Fast forward about maybe 10 years now, what inspired me to actually do the book was the fact that so many people asked me, hey, can you teach me how to write? Can you teach me how to draw? Can you teach me how to do this and that? So originally I wanted to make an English calligraphy book. When I looked online, there were so many resources for English calligraphy, and I ended up scratching the whole idea because I wanted my idea to stand out. I didn't want to do something that everyone else was already doing. I wanted the book to be more accessible, more easy for people to use. If I wanted to teach myself, how would I want to learn? So with that thought in mind, when I scratched it, I said, okay, why don't I shift it from English to Arabic? Because when I was trying to learn, there was nothing there. The book's purpose is just to help people kind of learn how to handle a pen. The biggest challenge people usually face when they're starting to do calligraphy is just knowing how to hold the pen and how the pen will make the different angles depending on how they hold it. So when I was designing this book, I kept in mind the page margins. Usually when I used to have the workbooks when I was growing up, page margins would be really narrow and they'd be really close to right to the edge. And usually these books would have a binding that would be just folded, it wouldn't be coiled. Another thing I kept in mind was paper quality. The paper quality is really important because when I was using those books growing up, these books would have such terrible paper quality. If you had to erase or you had to go back, the page would absorb all the ink and it would become disgusting. Lastly, the pens. So I based the whole entire book on a permanent marker. So I made it so you can basically buy this book, go to any dollar store, buy a permanent marker, and still be able to use the book. Every single aspect of this book has been taken into consideration and carefully thought through. Every image inside this book I've done by hand. From the pictures, from the figures, from the layout, everything I've done completely by scratch. And I wanted basically the learning for everyone that's going to use the book to feel more encouraged than to be intimidated. When I was 6 years old, I would want someone just to kind of help me and just guide me in a way that would inspire me to want to learn more. I want them to kind of have the chance that I didn't have when I was their age. And for people who are much older who are looking at the book, well, this is just something for you to kind of just relive your childhood. Every child has an imagination. And with this book, they're able to start building the skills that they can use to further that imagination. Not everyone will be a calligrapher, but everyone can be an artist. And if you want to be an artist, buy Grey Lines.